So we're going to be doing a follow-up video to the video that I did yesterday about Lily and Asuka and the whole situation that happened on Discord. Now it's going to be loosely tied to that because it's going to kind of tie into some of the responses that I got and a back and forth that I had on Twitter with a content creator called Mighty Keef. Now it wasn't a vitriolic back and forth. There was no hate between us, certainly not on my side, and I doubt it from Mighty Keef's side. Now me and Mighty Keef had never spoken before. Obviously, being on YouTube, you'll probably know who Mighty Keef is if you're a gamer. I've been watching Mighty Keef's content for many, many years. Really enjoy his content. I think he's one of the funniest creators on here when it comes to games. I found his content when he was doing like videos about Smash Brothers, and I've always found them to be hilarious. Until this day, when he uploads a skit, I will watch them. And even though we had a disagreement on Twitter, I don't harbor any ill will towards the guy, despite what some people on Twitter might have thought. It was merely just a conversation. We're going to get into that a little bit. The first thing is that it does kind of suck that we are always talking about politics when it comes to games. But the harsh and unfortunate reality is that it has just infected our games, and people want to push certain things and be dismissive of other things, and people just constantly want to fight over these things. And so we have to address them. Now, yesterday when I spoke about Lily and Asuka, I said that you should just keep your beliefs and whatever you want to celebrate, whatever it might be, and keep that to yourself if the rules dictate that. Now, in my opinion, if you're in a Discord about a character and the rules are to just talk about the character, then you should just do that. Not everyone felt like that, and I leave my comment section open because I genuinely think that whether I disagree or agree with you, you should be allowed to say whatever you want to say. So unless you say something crazy, at which point YouTube will just delete it. That's not something that I can control. Told you before not to use colorful language, is out of my control. But unless that happens, your comment will stay up and I'll probably engage with you. If you go into my comment section, you'll probably see me talking to most people, whether you agree or disagree. The thing that annoys me the most, well, not really annoys, but always like takes me back, is when people say this person is right-wing grifting when they hear you say something that they don't agree with. They'll sit there talking like, I really hope he's not a right-winger. I really hope he's not a right-winger. And it's funny because when I made the Yasuke video defending Yasuke, saying this man was a samurai, this man was originally a slave and went to Japan and became a samurai by way of like Oda Nobunaga's blessing. A lot of people were like, this man is a left-wing grifter. He's just grifting for brownie points. Now, grifting is everyone's favorite word these days. If someone throws the word grifting at me after I've just made a point rather than engaging with the point, I don't know if I'm even going to bother engaging with them anymore. I did in my comment section and I did on Twitter, but I really think that people that do that both on the left and the right are idiots. And I think the people that do that and engage in it are no different than the people that they hate. The people that they pretend or profess to have a lot of venom towards, or they think are the world's worst people, or they think they're on the wrong side of history. I hate to break it to you, but you ain't that different from them. The same things that they say are the same things you guys say. The minute someone disagrees with you, the minute someone maybe asks you a question about something you said that they don't agree with, what is the first thing you say? This man is grifting. Do you know how stupid you all sound? I'm talking to people on the right and on the left, because I know there's people that watched my Yasuke video that are still here, and you guys know me. I'm going to keep it 100 of you. I don't really care how people feel about that. This is how I feel about it, so I'm just telling you. I think you're stupid. I genuinely think that. If you're genuinely just calling people grifters all the time that disagree with you, that's your go-to. I don't know what to tell you. Now, on the topic of right-wing grifting, every time I post a video that is somewhat controversial, like the Lily one that I posted, I get the yellow check mark on my videos, and I already know that's going to happen. Now, it happened yesterday with the Lily video. It has happened before when I've covered Kotaku. It happens all the time. There are some videos that I get to keep the green check mark on, but most of the time, if I deviate from my Tekken or my Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat videos and I start talking about more politically charged things, and I give a take that is a little bit more controversial or a little bit more outside the box, YouTube gives me the yellow tick. The yellow tick basically means that you ain't gonna make jack shit on the video. Now, I don't mind, and that's why I keep on doing it. I've already told people multiple times, YouTube is not a source of income for me. I just got lucky enough that people want to come and watch my videos, and I'm very flattered by that. But I would never rely on YouTube for me to make money. It's just too unstable. You can't talk about certain things. And there are a lot of content creators that I know that have a lot of subscribers that want to speak on certain things, both left and right wing, but they won't because they know it will affect their back. And I'm not going to name any names. I don't want to put anyone in hot water here, but that's just the case. So for those of you who are saying he's grifting for the right-wing money. It doesn't even make sense because YouTube's the only place that I make these videos. And whenever I make these videos, YouTube just gives me a yellow tick. I know this one is probably going to get a yellow tick as well. It is what it is. So for those of you that are saying that maybe you don't have YouTube accounts, maybe you've never had a video uploaded on here that's monetized, so you don't know. I'm not shitting on you for that. You know, some people might not know, but the grifting part, at least in my case, doesn't really make any sense. So I got into a back and forth yesterday with Mighty Keef. Now, like I said, Mighty Keef is one of my favorite content creators on this site in terms of his gaming skits. His Evo skits are some of my favorite skits on the entire page. And so even though me and Mighty Keef disagreed with what he said on Twitter, I don't harbor any ill will towards him. I was merely having a back and forth with him. Now, I know because Twitter is a cesspool, it is the abyss. People think that whenever you're typing on there, you are really angry, or you're like a rabid Wolverine and someone has really pissed you off, and that's why you've quote tweeted them, and that's why you're having a back and forth. Now, in reality, we know that if you've met somebody in real life that you didn't agree with, you just have the conversation. People act like animals on Twitter. And so I think because they act like animals, they think you're acting like an animal. But this is essentially how I always talk. So Mighty Keef wrote on Twitter and he said, "If I ever lose relevancy, I'm going to transition into a right-wing grifter. It looks so easy to manipulate conspiracy theorists and people angry at minorities." And I saw that and I was like, it's a bit of an odd thing to say, considering we know that there are people that will play up other people's emotions on both sides of the conversation. Now, for some people, it might be hard to understand that the other side, whether that's left or right to you, whatever side that might be, does it equally or just as bad, or some things even worse. But that's mainly because you're either not paying attention to all sides of the internet, and I don't blame you. The algorithm feeds you what you're looking for. So if you're watching very left-leaning content, then you're going to think people on the right are absolute demons. And if you're watching right-wing content, you're going to think people on the left are absolute demons. Now, I was lucky enough to grow up with people that were both left and right-leaning, and I can see them beyond their politics. Their politics don't make up their entire personality. There are a lot of good people that I know that are left-leaning people. So most of my closest friends, most of my closest circles are left-leaning. Within those circles, though, we have right-leaning people. Everyone gets on because we grew up in the real world and not on Twitter. Now, unfortunately, a lot of these youngsters, and I'm not saying Mighty Keef is one, but just in general, a lot of these youngsters grow up on Twitter and they see these content creators making very damning pieces about people, whether that's left or right. And they form their opinions on that without actually going outside and talking to people. I always grew up in London, and I was always told, Michael, don't go out to the countryside because them white folks, they don't like you. I've been told that by so many people. And whenever I go out to the countryside, whether that's Cotswold, whether that's somewhere in Colchester, wherever it might be in the UK, I'm always treated with respect. Now, I don't know if people are saying stuff behind my back, but you know what? I would rather take somebody being mean about me behind my back than some guy chasing me down the road with a knife in London. So if that is happening, I don't really care. But I was always told that until I actually went out there and interacted with people. And I've had so many pleasant conversations with the whitest people you'll ever meet in your life. Some of them have even just invited me to go places. I remember going to a pub and meeting a group of people, and we just ended up hanging out and having the best time. And I was the only person of color there, and it wasn't an issue. We had a great time. But you know, people will say things because they see things on TV and they think that's the whole world, and it's just not. So I responded to Mighty Keef and I said, both sides do it equally. This is either walking around with eyes wide shut or trying to win brownie points for a particular group. Now, the reason I said that is because, like I said, I was fortunate enough to grow up around both left and right-leaning people. Both my mum and my dad sit on opposite sides of things. My dad is a little bit more left-leaning, and my mum, without actually knowing it, is a little bit more right-leaning. She's a little bit more conservative. So I got to see the nice side of these people, obviously, both in my friends and my family. But growing up around these circles, you get to see the ugly side of it. And both sides have a very, very insidious, ugly side to them, as all things do. You have bad apples in all things. And this is why it looks to people on Twitter like I'm fencing, but it's not that I'm fencing, it's that I don't live my life on Twitter. I am outside talking to people. I think anybody that has been out there and interacted with people forms their own opinions. They don't just bat for one team. So Mighty Keef responded to me and he said, if you truly feel that way, why are you criticizing me for saying it about either party? I said to him, I'm criticizing you the way I criticize people on the right that say the exact same thing. We both know both sides have grifters that say things to be accepted by the masses and bolster their reach, To point one out, it seems like you're totally ignoring the left's equal part in it. Now, I truly believe that. Now, I know I said that people use the word grifter a lot. It didn't come out of nowhere, though. There are people that genuinely jump onto a movement if they feel like they can capitalize and maximize their audiences, and they will spout any nonsense necessary in order to do that. Now, because I know some of you have been coming back to these videos for a while, you can tell that I don't really give a shit what people think of me in terms of what side I sit on. There'll be one day where I'm defending someone that is on the left, and there'll be one day that I'm defending somebody on the right. It is what it is. It depends on what video people turn up for that they're going to build their perception on me. I already know that, but I can't reference every single thing in every single video to give people a full outline of me. That's just the way the internet works. But I did find it weird that he specifically pointed out right wing. To me, it made it look like he wasn't acknowledging the fact that he could just be a left-wing grifter if he wanted to, which, you know, I believe Mighty Keef is left-leaning based on the things that he posts, but I wouldn't call him a grifter. That's just what he believes. If someone disagrees with your mindset and your viewpoints, you can't just call him a grifter for it. That's ridiculous. That reasoning makes no sense whatsoever. Surely if someone walked up to you and they asked you about your politics and you told them and they're just like, grifter, because you don't agree. And then Mighty Keef said, but if you continue reading in the thread, I also state that the left has grifters. So either you did not read everything or you are being inconsistent with your statements. Now, I did read through everything before I posted. I said to him, I read through the thread and saw your back and forth with people, but ultimately you could become a left-wing grifter if you ever became irrelevant. Why did you choose to say right-wing if you also believe both sides do the same thing and benefit in similar ways? I think that's a fair thing to say. Now, I'm aware, I'm seeing the views on these tweets going up, and I can see people are paying attention to what's going on. Now, like I said in the beginning, I think people on Twitter think everybody is like a rabid Wolverine, and when they're asking questions and they're speaking normally, because I was just typing normally, I wasn't angry at Mighty Keef or anything, I wasn't bothered by what he said, I was curious of what he said. They might have seen it and been like, oh, this guy is vexed or what Mighty Keef said, he's definitely right wing, which just tells you how terminally online people are and how vitriolic it has gotten within the gaming spaces. So Mighty Keef responded and he said, why would it matter which I chose if you really believe either side can do it equally? So I responded to him and said, ultimately it doesn't matter because they both pander in similar ways, but choosing to point one out seemed like you didn't believe the other could. Now that I know you do, in the unlikely event that you fell off, why not just become a left-wing grifter? Now, I don't believe Mighty Keef will fall off. Like I said, despite this interaction with him, I respect his hustle. He produces awesome content. He is genuinely funny. And I don't think he'll fall off. But in the event that he did, if he believes both sides can grift, why would you go to the right? Why wouldn't you just stay on the left? Now, like I just said to you, being a right-wing grifter or espousing views that don't line up with the left just gets your videos yellow check marks. It happens constantly when I do these videos. There are some, like I said, that don't get it and it doesn't affect the channel. But these are things that I believe. It doesn't make any sense. I make more money on my channel, however small that might be because my channel is still small, from just producing Tekken and Street Fighter content and Mortal Kombat and general gaming stuff. I don't think this helps my channel in any way, at least not from a monetary standpoint, because YouTube just axes it. Doesn't axe the viewership, the video is still able to get out to people. It's not like when you get a copyright strike, but the idea that him becoming a right-wing grifter would help him, first of all, is ridiculous because his audience on YouTube would look at him and be like, what the hell are you doing? He would lose all of his audience over that. I would unsubscribe from him if he did that. So I'd be like, bro, what are you doing? I'm not saying that you can't dive into other areas of entertainment or whatever it might be, but if you just decide to dive into politics because your channel wasn't doing too well and it's not even things you believe, why would I stick around for that? I think people have become too tribal. I honestly think that's the problem here, and I blame the media. The last thing that Mighty Keef said was, because I personally feel it is easy to commodify people's hatred, and I think there are more lucrative outlets to incentivize grifting for the right wing. I was going to show him that every single time I do a controversial video, YouTube gives me that yellow tick. And I did respond to him and I did say to him, look dude, like I post videos sometimes defending people on the left inadvertently, same with the right. And it doesn't matter what you do, they call you a grifter. So I wasn't even trying to like talk to him from like an older brother perspective. I don't even know how old Mighty Keef is, but I was basically trying to say to him, Just don't be that guy, man. You know that both sides are doing this. People are flawed. I imagine things in America are very tense right now with the election. People are very heated. We don't know which way it's going to go. I'm just watching from the UK. To us, it looks like a season of Netflix every time you guys have a new president running. We're just watching to see what happens. It would be wrong for me to sit here and say that there are not bad people on the right, just like it would be wrong for you to sit here and say there's not bad people on the left. And that is including the gaming space. Gaming space has become radicalized, unfortunately. That's why you're seeing people like Asmongold talking about these things constantly. That's why you're seeing constant coverage from the quartering. That's why you're seeing other creators constantly diving into this conversation. Now, you might say Asmongold, the quartering, whoever it might be, are grifters. I'm not really here to change your mind on those things. What I'm saying here is that these things are happening and people are not engaging in the conversations, in my opinion, in a way that is going to move anything forward. Just constantly calling people grifters doesn't help the situation. Now, obviously, when I had this back and forth with Mighty Keef on Twitter, people were watching, like I said. I had this guy here, Sue James Enson. I think that's how you say his name. Sounds to me like you hate that he said right wing instead of left. Lol. Feeling a bit left out. A decent attempt at trying to be funny, but I think you missed the mark. Now, I don't know where he got the word. Like, he said, I hate that he said right wing. I merely asked the man a question. And this is the problem with people that have become very radicalized and very tribal. If you question people on things, they get very angry. My video yesterday on Lily and Asuka was to ask people, what the hell are you doing in there other than to talk about Lily and Asuka? Now, I gave my opinion on it ultimately, but a lot of the time I'm asking questions because I don't understand how the mind of these people work. It doesn't make any sense to me when there's very clear things that we can observe, and this is the way they respond. Like, this guy's acting out like I was upset about the conversation I had with Mighty Keef. I'm the one that retweeted Mighty Keef, and then he responded to me. I didn't think he would respond. Obviously, he's a giant creator. You don't think that they will respond to you, but he did. And we just had a back and forth. There was no swearing. I didn't call him any names. He didn't call me names. But you get idiots like this who seem to think that everybody, like I said, is like a rabid Wolverine. So I basically said to him, I don't hate anything that he said. I'm just asking a question. Don't be weird. He followed up by saying, lol, you're the one being weird. He said what he said, and it got you up in arms to learn the origins and philosophies of his tweet. Going as far as to say, why pick this side if it's the same if you choose the other? Just sounds to me like his tweet bothered you. This is the problem with having conversations online. There's a lot of people that just don't want to engage in actual conversation. I genuinely wanted to get Mighty Keef's point of view on the situation and why he feels like that. Now, in one of Mighty Keef's tweets, he said personally. So when I read that, I was like, he's probably had very bad experiences with right-wing people. He's probably consumed content on YouTube or from the media that paints people in a really bad light. There's probably a lack of like conversation, a back and forth with people on the right where you can actually speak to them and try to understand their mindset. And so that's what I was trying to get into with him, because I thought it could be an interesting conversation. But this fool, this Sue James, whatever his name is, comes in like, you know, basically the typical Twitter user and just derails the conversation. But he wasn't the only guy that came in and ruined the conversation. There was another one that came in called Local Loser, which is a fitting name. And he said, yeah, he's somebody who's a dire right-winger. Mad because the grifters he decided to follow is being called out. I can only assume that this is a very young person, or again, somebody that doesn't go outside very often. I just asked the man questions. Merely asking someone questions and people put you in a box. Do you see how tribal people have become? So I said to him, because I asked the question about both sides playing a part in the problem, and his response to me was, yeah, N-word, oh my god, I hate how y'all act so effing elevated. I'm just asking questions. Jordan Peterson out here tweeting segregationist bullshit that was researched by Nazis and you like, but mayor, both sides aren't helpful. N-word, you not helpful. And I responded to him saying I wasn't trying to be helpful, I was just trying to ask the question. But you see how this just spiraled from me asking a question to him bringing up Jordan Peterson and Nazis. I read it and I was like, this guy's mad. This guy's genuinely mad. He's deleted that tweet, but I took that screenshot before he deleted it. I knew he would delete it because that's such a stupid thing to say. But this is just another example, and this is why I think that trying to get your voice out there and trying to be rational about things is really important, especially in the gaming space, because whether you guys like it or not, this stuff has infested our spaces. It just has. I mean, I've covered the whole Alyssa McCante stuff, the Kotaku stuff, things that have happened on here where people are going back and forth. I don't know where this whole conversation is going to go. I don't know how many voices are going to get involved. I don't know how negative or vitriolic it's going to turn. But this is just an example how you'll put your voice out there and you'll say certain things and people will just snap at you. They won't do it in person, obviously. People don't behave like this in person. If you behave like this in person, you weren't raised right. I've bumped into people that have said things to me online and then I've met them in person. It's not to say they're scared of me. I'm not trying to make it like they're scared of me, but they just don't behave like that. People don't behave like this in person. Now, Mighty Keef has been getting into a war of words with people on Twitter. There's an individual called Hypnotic that has 47,000 subscribers, and he called out Mighty Keef and said Mighty Keef's channel is not doing too well. He tweeted out saying, you might want to start transitioning to a right-wing grifter than Mighty Cuck. That main channel is looking mighty dead when you're getting less views than a channel with 47,000 subscribers. I don't think Mighty Keef's channel's dead. Okay, like I understand that this is a heated back and forth, but there's no point in telling fibs. Mighty Keef's channel is doing very well. It'll probably continue to do very well because his content is genuinely good. I mean, you don't have to agree with somebody to recognize something and praise their content, and that is the case. Now, even though I don't like what Mighty Keef has been tweeted out, because after this back and forth, I went and read through his whole Twitter feed, and it did seem like it was just fishing for arguments at some points. I don't know if that's what he was actually doing. That's what I interpret it to be reading through it. Mighty Keef responded back to him saying, I've been in the game a while. I can upload when I want and still make a living. You make assembly line rage bait content to stay afloat. You have over 2,000 videos on your channel and have less than 50,000 subs. People aren't sticking around because your content sucks. I don't like this back and forth of, oh, I've got this many subscribers and you've got that many subscribers, because the reality is that YouTube can just go like that and get rid of anyone. That's why I always tell people, you know, it doesn't matter if the person has 1 or 1 million. You should just treat them, you know, treat them with some basic respect and don't reference how their channel's doing, because some people that have like 1,000 subscribers are doing insane. Subscribers don't really mean anything. It's just how many people found your videos or wanted to be subscribed to you, but they don't pay any bills. But I don't think you should measure people on that. So I didn't really like this back and forth they were having. The other guy started it, so obviously Mighty Keef retaliated with that response. Now we'll get on to the stuff with Grums, and then I'll round off this video and give my thoughts on this whole debacle, and then we'll get back to the fighting game content, because I'm sure you guys are probably sick of this by now. I did have a video planned around the new Bleach fighting game, but we'll get to that possibly the next couple of days. Mighty Keef said, in this tweet, I didn't name anyone or even tie it to any incident. It was just a general observation of people who grift. So it's hilarious to see how defensive some people got over it. Literal definition of if the shoe fits. Grums had said, you're once again calling all of us racist. Exactly what you denied doing before when we called you out on it on the SBI stuff. Nobody is unhappy with minorities in gaming. Gamers are unhappy with being called all sorts of things, like you are here, for being unhappy with games with bad characters, writing, and injected with woke politics. As for grifting, DEI is the real multi-billion-dollar grift, with consulting companies like SBI ruining games and other woke agencies selling discriminatory hiring, HR, consulting, and more. You are upset that the majority has turned against this and you are losing. Now, we've spoken about SBI on this channel, and if you were going to use the word grift, it would go to somebody like Sweet Baby Inc. We've seen multiple times, both with Hollywood films and now in our video games, that these people, first of all, don't know jack shit about the games that they're writing for, and they're just messing things up. Luckily, people are voting with their wallets and they don't like it. It's not just white people that are voting with their wallets, it's also black people. Now, if I'm being completely honest, I don't really know where Mighty Keef sits on the whole SBI thing. I really don't. Quite honestly, I don't care. It's there and we can see it. And if we don't like something, we just don't buy it. It's really that simple. And the more we don't buy the games, eventually SBI will tank. I don't know how they're getting their investments if the games are not doing well, but it can only last for so long. And then Mighty Keef said, because if you were just a right-wing person and not a grifter, you would just pass this tweet by. You would only really get upset if you partake in the grifting. Now, I think that's a bit of a silly tweet. I don't think anyone's particularly upset of all the people that responded to it. I'm sure maybe some people are, but obviously that's going to bait people into having a conversation. It got very high engagement. I think it's over 400,000 views. So to round off this video, I know it's been very lengthy and I've been yapping away. I think all the people that are doing this, the people that constantly use the word grifter for everyone that they disagree with, I think they're the same as the people that they're standing against. And it's very, very hard to have conversations with people, both whether it's in the fighting game community or in the wider gaming space, that you have disagreements with. And the Conversations on Twitter are proof of that. Now, because I've met some people at gaming conventions that disagree with me and their attitude is very different in person, I don't know if this is just Twitter. You know, Twitter is a cesspool. It's where people go to brain rot. And I think there's a need for people to try and play for their team and play things up. There was even some guy on there, I'm not even going to bother bringing up his tweet, it's still on my Twitter, that was saying that Mighty Keef cooked me. Now, those were all the tweets that Mighty Keef sent me. I don't know why I got cooked. We were just having a conversation. So I do honestly think that people have just gone full on tribal. Having said that, if you believe something, I think that you should just say it, and you can offer arguments and you can offer retorts and rebuttals to people. I think you should go ahead and do it. I don't think you should be scared or shamed for saying whatever you want to say. They can call you whatever names they want. The fact of the matter is that it's very easy to disprove them. I mean, I've disproven them in this video. If I was a grifter, like they say, for the right, then I wouldn't be defending people on the left and getting called a grifter for the left by right-wing people. It doesn't really make any sense. My stance on this is that I don't really care if you're right-wing or left-wing. Like I said, one of my closest friends is a very, very hardcore liberal feminist. One of my closest friends. She's at the rallies, she goes to the marches, and I don't agree with her politically on a lot of things, but I love her. Like, I've grown up with her. Not right now, we're kind of at each other's necks. She's pissed me off about some stuff, and hopefully she doesn't see this video. But right now we're not talking, but obviously she's like family. And then I've got friends who, you know, they voted for Reform UK, the party that Nigel Farage was heading up. I have people that I agree and disagree with in my life, and they're not bad people, you know. I think people have a tendency to believe that if somebody's on the opposite side of where they sit on the political spectrum, that they're instantly a bad person, and that's just not the case. The reason that there's so many gamers that are fighting back against this DEI stuff is that it's become painfully apparent. It's become very, very obvious now. It's not just racist white people that don't want to see minorities in games. There's plenty of minorities that are saying, hey, this is kind of weird, we don't really appreciate it. There's loads of them. That's why this conversation has exploded. Anybody that's saying otherwise are just lying. Now, they might say to you, oh, you hate your own people, you're trying to make money from it. Like I've said before, this video is going to get the yellow check mark. My other video got the yellow check mark. The video I did on Alyssa McCante before got the yellow check mark. I don't know how many videos I've gotten the yellow check mark on right now. The reason I'm not stopping and talking about it is because I'm not grifting. I have jobs that I have to do in the real world. YouTube's not keeping the lights on at home, guys, okay? I live in London. London. You look up the rent prices online. You tell me if you think my channel, with the views that I'm getting, is keeping the lights on at home. I think a lot of you that do this are just speaking out of your ass. And if I'm being completely honest, you know, you go on Twitter and you say all these things and you name call people, and it just looks childish and petty because the things that you're saying can easily be disproven. And the worst thing is that these people will be very, very, very happy to tweet behind the keyboard. But the minute you say, jump on a live stream, let's have a conversation, they won't do it. And I've done this before and they won't do it. I've bumped into people in real life where I was like, what were you saying online? Not in an aggressive way or violent way, but just to be like, let's have this conversation in person then. When they don't have Wikipedia there or their favorite YouTube to copy the transcript from on their video, they don't know what to say. Try it out sometime. You ever bump into somebody that's saying things to you online? No need to be aggressive, no need to be hostile. Just have a conversation with them, see where their mind is at. See if they need the keyboard to put their views across, or if they genuinely believe what they're saying. Sometimes people just want to belong to a team. They want to feel like they have a family or people they can lean on, and that's why they do a lot of the things that they do. And like I said at the beginning of the video, I was lucky enough to grow up in the real world before even dial-up internet, where I made friends that I can see in person. So if the entire internet turned against me, my group of friends have been the same since I was 6 years old. It doesn't make any difference. So that's all I'm going to say on that. We'll try and get back to our fighting game videos. Now, for those of you that were asking me, Mike, are you okay? You look ill. You look tired. I am tired. I have 2 jobs. I do my 2 jobs most days. And then I want to keep up with my content creation. So it's 2 in the morning right now. I have work at 9 in the morning, but I wanted to get a video out there. This video has already been pretty long as it is. I've got to edit it and still work. So yeah, I'm pretty tired. Trying to stay on top of gym, do all of this stuff. It's difficult, but I'm not complaining. I'm very fortunate with the position that I'm in, especially with YouTube. I'm having a lot of fun doing it. I'm having a lot of fun having these conversations with people, even the people like the unhinged folks on Twitter that say crazy things. I enjoy all of it. I like talking to people. So don't worry about me. I'm in good health. I'm going to go jump in bed now, and I'll try and get this video out for you guys as soon as possible. Well, you would have already seen it by the time I've said that, but you get my point. So I'm not ill. Maybe you just think I'm ugly. I don't know. But I'm going to go to bed now, guys, anyway. So take care of yourselves. Have a good day. Peace.